There was one last stand, he murmured, his eyes distant. One final fight, face to face with the very best soldier humanity had to offer. They called him Ghost, and I understood why the moment I saw him. We'd been drawn to a deserted, ruined city, one of our own, reduced to rubble by their relentless assault. Smoke hung thick in the air, mingling with the stale scent of scorched metal and burnt stone. Ash covered the broken streets, coating everything in a layer of gray. It was just the two of us. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the distant crackle of flames. Ghost emerged from the shadows, his figure obscured by a dark, adaptive suit that rippled as he moved, blending seamlessly into the ruins around us. I could barely make out his form as he stepped lightly over the debris, his armor reflecting his surroundings like a mirror. I knew then that he'd studied me, anticipated me, that he'd been waiting for this confrontation. I took a defensive stance, claws at the ready, grounding myself in the loose rubble underfoot. He moved first, shifting into a blur of motion, launching toward me with a blade extending from his arm. Faster than any creature I'd faced. I barely dodged, feeling the edge of his blade slice through the air, inches from my face. I twisted and lunged back, swiping at him, trying to close the distance. But he pivoted, using the fallen beams and scattered stone like stepping stones, evading me with terrifying agility. His suit morphed as he moved, camouflaging him against the backdrop of the ruined city, making it impossible to track him. Ghost swung around, using a broken pillar as leverage to kick off, and came at me from above. I braced myself, raising my arm to block, and managed to intercept his strike, the impact reverberating up my arm. But he adjusted midair, twisting to land a second hit to my side. The force drove me back, my feet skidding through ash and debris, my balance faltering. I scanned the environment, looking for any advantage I could find. Nearby, a cluster of twisted rebar poked out from the rubble. I feigned weakness, staggering toward it, hoping he'd take the bait. Sure enough, he moved in, charging at me, his blade flashing as he aimed for a lethal strike. I ducked at the last moment, grabbing a piece of rebar and thrusting it forward, aiming for a gap in his armor. But Ghost was faster than I'd anticipated. He pivoted, deflecting the blow and countering with a swift kick to my chest that sent me crashing against a broken wall. Dust and shards of glass rained down, blurring my vision. I struggled to my feet, just in time to see him charging again, this time wielding a weapon that had shifted from a blade into a compact, energy-powered staff. We clashed, his staff meeting my claws in a series of rapid strikes and parries, the force of each blow echoing through the ruins. I could feel my strength waning, each strike draining me as his relentless speed pushed me further back. I managed to land a hit to his shoulder, denting his armor slightly, but he didn't falter. He retaliated with a strike to my knee, forcing me down. Desperation fueled me as I threw myself forward, tackling him into a mound of rubble. We grappled, rolling through the debris, each trying to gain the upper hand. He was strong, impossibly strong, his movements fluid, calculated. I felt the edge of his blade press against my neck, the cold metal biting into my skin. But then I saw a flicker, a crack in his armor, a weak spot near his side. With all the strength I had left, I twisted, breaking free, and struck at the exposed area. He staggered back, the first sign of vulnerability, but it was fleeting. Ghost regained his balance, his eyes locking onto mine with a fury I'd never seen before. We both stood there, breathing heavily, battered, bleeding. And then he smiled, a cold, knowing smile, as if he'd been waiting for something. Before I could react, Ghost activated something on his wrist. The ground beneath us began to hum, a low vibration that quickly intensified. I realized too late, he'd called in an orbital strike, one powerful enough to level the entire area. I had seconds to act. I lunged at him one final time, determined to take him down with me, but he vanished, slipping into the shadows as the world around me erupted in blinding light and searing heat. And then, nothing. I don't know how I survived. I woke in the ashes of that ruined city, alone, broken. The memory of that fight seared into my mind. Ghost had spared me. He'd left me alive, but I knew it wasn't mercy. It was a message, a warning. The humans had let me live, and I could only wonder, why?